So now let's proceed with step 4 of planning. We have here select the appropriate format. So what are the format preferences of your audience? And here are the examples of radio program formats. We have here the musical, talk, documentary, magazine, drama, and news. So in this part, I will be discussing each of these radio programs as well as some examples so we can have a further understanding about these programs. So let's start with the musical. Basically, music shows are centered around music. It can be specific to a genre like disco, country, or pop, a decade like the 70s or the 80s, or even a theme. It can be about movie soundtracks and breakup music. So aside from that, a musical program can be described as integrated or diverse. Integrated music programs revolve around a definite theme. So basically, this program is centered around just one kind of music. It can be all the songs of a famous composer, like, for example, a music show about the songs of Augie Alcacid. So it can also be themed about the original Filipino music or the OPM. So it can just play songs from, let's say, Urban Dub, December Avenue, and other OPM that are very popular right now. And it can also show movie soundtracks. Now, aside from being integrated, we also have here diverse music programs, which of course has a variety of music. So it can play old and new songs, love songs, as well as popular songs. So here is an example of a musical radio show, which is Wish 107.5. So here, different bands and soloists are invited to sing their song and perhaps introduce their new single. Now for the second one, we also have the talk radio shows. So a talk show can be a discussion or an interview. So unlike other forms of radio, talk radio was focused on engaging in the listener. So here is an example of DZMM Teleradio. So I got this from Karen Davila's Twitter post. So this is her last post about DZMM prior to the shutdown of ABS-CBN. So going back, in the DZMM Teleradio, so we have here two different kinds of segments. So first, their hosts or the radio announcers can discuss among themselves about a certain topic, about a certain news. And aside from that, so they can also invite key personalities and have interviews with them. Now, aside from that, we also have here the documentary. So a documentary is another informational program that deals with and highlights an important subject matter or issue. So it aims to provide socially useful information, persuade the audience to take remedial action, or to inspire or uplift communities. So here is an example. We have here WNYC, a radio station in New York. So based on the title, WNYC covers the Great Anti-Nuclear March and Rally at Central Park, June 12, 1982. So this is a post-event documentary that was broadcast on WNYC. So it chronicles what happened following the Great March and the rally. Now, aside from those, we also have here the magazine talk show. So here it deals with and highlights an important subject matter or issue. So an example is BBC's Women's Hour. So it has been broadcast for a long period of time now. And over the years, Women's Hour has been discussing key issues that revolve around women, gender equality, and the likes. So as we can see here, this kind of talk show is specific to just one topic. Now, aside from that, we also have here drama. So this is a program that tells a story through action and dialogue. And the story can be based on an event or happening, a theme, or a character. One example is Wisconsin Public Radio. So this one, the old-time radio drama, it brought the 30s, 40s, and 50s entertainment. So this radio drama explored some of the best comedy, drama, adventure, mystery, and science fiction of the 20th century. So perhaps we can compare it to podcasts in the way that it is delivered, because we're talking about a certain stories. So if you're familiar with a podcast entitled Serial, so that chronicles the murder and how that murder was uncovered by a group of people. So perhaps that is an example or somehow similar to the drama radio show. Now, of course, last but not the least, and perhaps the most popular one, is the news program. So news programs contain accounts of the latest social and international events. So it may be reports of accidents, conflicts, gatherings, government or politics, as well as sports and people. So here is an example, which is DZBB Super Radio, featuring the late Michael Enriquez. So here we can just watch all the kind of news or the current events. Now for the fifth step, identify your priority messages. So here are some questions that will guide you in selecting your messages. So first, is it useful? Does the message have advantages over what the audience already know? Second, is it timely? Is it too late or too early to influence specific actions? Third, is the message appropriate? Will the audience be able to understand and utilize the information that we provide them? And third, is it simple? So, will the audience easily understand the message despite the complexity of the topic? Now, let's move on to the production. So, for the first tip, we have gather radio materials. So, to gather radio materials, you may do your research or conduct an interview. Now, next, of course, we have to write the script. And although we won't be discussing how to write the script in details, then here is some photos of part of script. So as we can see here, we have the name of the station, the program details, which include the title of the program, the date and time of the broadcast, as well as the staff or the personnel involved in producing the news, or rather the radio program. And on the right part of this slide is a page on the script. So here we can see each line that is read by a certain announcer. Now, aside from that one, we also have to choose and audition talents as well as prepare the music and sound effects. So here are some guidelines on selecting the voice talents. So first, look for the following characteristics. Their quality or type of his or her voice should be appropriate for the character in the script. So, for example, for a drama talk show, if the character is perhaps an elderly, so of course we have to have either an elderly as a character or maybe someone who can change their voice to match that of the elders. Now, second, so aside from the quality of the voice, we have to consider the delivery of the script. So, can they deliver the dialogue naturally? And lastly, since collaboration is important in every kind of work situations, then we have to know whether our voice talents can follow the instructions of the director-producer. Now, for the music scoring, here are some guidelines. Use music for any of the following purposes. It can be used as a bridge or transition from one scene to another, as sound effect, as a stab or sting, as a symbolic effect, or as a background to a scene or narration. Now, for the sound effects, here are some guidelines. So, use sound effects only if it can add realism and authenticity to the production. So, for example, let's go back to the drama show or drama program. So, imagine that you're talking about horses. So, to add realism, so wouldn't it be nice if we include the sounds of the hooves? And then next, you can also use sound effects only if you want to enhance the mood or atmosphere of a scene. So, for example, for let's see, news programs that are talking about a news that is urgent or the latest news, so we can add some sound effects that might help us feel the urgency about the news. And then next, we can also use sound effects to help the message make something clear. And of course, if the audience expects to hear the sound, so it would be boring if all we hear are the conversation among the host or the interviews between the host and the interviewee. Now, another thing that you might consider is to observe proper volume of the sound effects. So we do not want the sound effects to cover the talk. We don't want that to happen. And of course, lastly, help the audience identify the sound by referring to it in the dialogue or the narration. Okay, so again, I'll stop here and then I'll see you in the next slides for the fourth and perhaps the last part of production. Thank you.